Hello guys, bersama saya lagi dalam ORAITNOPO channel. Satu perkara yang amat mengejutkan sahabat semua. Ya, apabila hari ini Perdana Menteri kita memberikan syarahan umum khas di sebuah universiti lah ya di Korea. Dan apa yang mengejutkan, seorang profesor dari Korea menunjukkan gambar beliau ya semasa berada ya pada tahun 1998 Gerakan Reformasi menyokong Datuk Seri Anwar Ibrahim yang bermulalah episod hitam dalam kehidupan Datuk Seri apabila difitnah, dipenjara, dilucutkan jawatan dan sebagainya. Mungkin profesor pada ketika itu masih belajar ya, tapi hari ini sudah menjadi profesor dan sehingga hari ini beliau begitu mengagumi perjuangan yang dibuat ataupun dilakukan oleh Perdana Menteri kita. Beliau membawa gambar beliau berada di dalam perhimpunan itu, sahabat semua. Memang inilah dia seorang warga Korea, rakyat Korea yang menyokong perjuangan reformasi dan juga bagaimana kerajaan pada ketika itu begitu zalim ya untuk menjatuhkan Perdana Menteri kita, memenjarakan Perdana Menteri kita hari ini yaitu Datuk Seri Anwar Ibrahim. Jadi menarik ya untuk kita ikuti ucapan Perdana Menteri kita dan saat-saat di mana Profesor ini menunjukkan gambar beliau kepada Perdana Menteri Datuk Seri Anwar. Jadi tanpa membuang masa, ayo kita tonton video ini.
We be given the opportunity to address this university, very known for its impeccable academic achievements and innovation in terms of new disciplines, and not to ignore the importance of this being seat of students' activism and demand for reform and democracy in Korea. And I had a short session with the President and also heads of Institute of Future Strategies, Social Science, Asian Studies. And it is a remarkable feat for this university to set up a special institute for future strategies. And incidentally, I was proposing to one of our universities, Islamic University, to set up Institute of Future Studies, so they will be able to collaborate. But that only displays, President, the spectacular success and level of expertise and formidable task that you have in not only retaining that academic excellence, but to continue to rethink about the future of education and to introduce new disciplines that was never considered in the past. I mean, future strategies was never a discipline that was generally popular or taught in universities, and therefore I am certainly looking forward to the further collaboration in this field. Now, I'm looking at this session, probably I wouldn't be tempted to read too much of my text, but may I say that, as I told President Yoon yesterday during our meeting and over lunch, that the relations between Malaysia and Korea has spanned for more than 6 decades. And we are fortunate because this is one of the few countries we do not have any issues or controversy. And we have benefited immensely. Every time you talk about the Penang Bridge, where I come from, or the Twin Tower, or the TRX, is Korean construction. You see, so it's a major propaganda for Korea. But it was very, to me, extremely touching remark by President Yoon yesterday, when he said that in the initial period of reconstruction of Korea, after decades of upheaval and difficulties of battles and civil war, it was the small Malaya then, Malaysia, that decided to support, in a small way, for a newly independent emerging nation, to support Korea by helping to build a small bridge, which is now known as the Malaysia Bridge. Now, it was touching to me in the sense that for a great economy and successful industrial and technological development achieved in this country, to have a president to be able to have the humility to acknowledge, yes, this is probably a different time, but then there was an occasion that we were in great difficulty. There was this Malaysia, a true friend of Korea. And that is why I think we look forward to further collaboration, and I believe the President would certainly support, not only in terms of the MOUs and the collaboration, but a more substantive learning curve discussion, including on digital and AI, to be able to benefit from one another. And I think in certain fields of academic achievement, certainly we can benefit more from Korea. Well, Nobel laureate for literature Han Kang, quite controversial here, but is a great writer nonetheless. In her magnum opus, Human X, I want to quote here about her unfiltered acceleration of compassion and empathy, which she remarked in her recent interview, Liberating from Fear. The last line of defense by which human beings can remain human is the complete and true perception of another's suffering. Now, we did make some reference to the philosophy of education. We need to master new subjects, challenges, disciplines, including AI and digital, energy transition, and uncertainties in the world. I mean, here is a scholar of political science. I wouldn't want to challenge him on the subject. It is his field of expertise and competence. But there are new challenges, geopolitical, uncertainties. As I always remark about the challenges of post-normal times. What is it? It's chaotic. The post-normal times means we are living in very chaotic times. No, it's not only chaos, but it is complex, what you call complexities. Is some peculiar experience, oftentimes unknown prior to this, but these are areas that we have to grapple with. So we have chaos, we have complexities, and we have contradictions. People who promote democracy are the most undemocratic. People who talk human rights are trampling human rights every day. People who talk about fair trade are promoting protectionism. So it's a complex world. And civil wars everywhere, uncertainties in the Russia-Ukraine war, the devastation, dehumanization as a result of the total abandonment of moral precepts and values, as you have seen in the Israeli war and aggression in Palestine and Gaza. My question is, of course, these are all happening simultaneously. It's not a question of pockets of areas. You look at the world is in a mess. That is why I have lots of confidence and hope for the students and for the young to appreciate certain issues beyond what we now understand and comprehend. We want to be good engineers, good political scientists, good technologies, good in AI, but we should not allow ourselves to be to excel in these disciplines but lose our humanity. So again, this university have introduced the transdisciplinary foundation studies, whatever you call it, innovation, which to my mind is even remarkable. We talk about multidisciplinary, we talk about foundational studies, and some universities in the West, at the time when the corporate world have lost ethical values, a lot of floundering and malfeasance, and so they introduced ethics as a discipline, very popular in the 80s, but still we have lost ethics. So you have now started, and I've asked the professor to probably send me so that I can also benefit from the experience here. But what have we lost? We have lost humanity. There is distrust, there is deficit in political leadership and economic policymakers and policymakers, even in academia, because we excel in certain fields, but we have lost our humanity. There's no compassion. There is no ethical values and humanitarian considerations. So when we refer to subjects as elaborate, being wanting to be strategic partners, and in terms of ASEAN and APEC and the region, to me what is fundamental is humanity. Why do you talk about governance or politics? How is it that we can talk about a cohesive, united ASEAN if we lose this essence of humanity, compassion, and humanitarian values? I made a slight reference to the whole issue being debated in the West. First, of course, in the social science, debunked because the traditional Western social science is essentially a Western paradigm. What is modern, there's nothing modern before the West appear, according to them. Do we then accept that? No, certainly no. There's no education, there's no literacy to them, because it is not education and literacy as they comprehend and understand. So we have to change. You mean to say the Korean civilization having the capacity and technology and fantastic strategy warfare that can defeat the greater powers among your neighbors is without technology? Certainly with technology. But there's a traditional technology that you understand and comprehend and we accept, although of a different period and time. And so we give value to what we mean by success and technology or knowledge or science. That's why when Huntington popularized his Clash of Civilization, Samuel Huntington, and then followed by Fukuyama, Francis Fukuyama, and his the supremacy of Western liberal democracy. Although Fukuyama, has shifted a bit. I was with him at Science in DC, and then some years later, when he went to Berkeley, University of Berkeley, I was invited to give a lecture, and he was there. But then I think he has shifted from that clash of civilization or Western liberal democracy to be more accommodative with the fact that it is a more complex, pluralistic world. And he made reference to what is the requirement at present, whether you're in the East or the West, whether you are Muslim or Buddhist or Christian. there must be accountability. Even in a democracy, it is not about elections, but it is about democratic accountability. You may win elections, but the system can be terribly corrupt. You can win elections and have fair and free elections, but there is no accountability when it comes to the issues of governance and economic policy. So, I made reference in our discussion about reference to Edward Said's short but classic piece to refute and debunk this essentially an arrogant, condescending Western perception of what civilization is all about clash of civilization, because we are different. When he said that it's not a clash of civilization, it's a clash of ignorance. You ask them, there has hardly any understanding. Say, for example, Korean history, culture, civilization. But they come to a conclusion that they are superior. Similarly, when you talk about Islam, there's hardly any understanding, except probably the dress code or some terrorist cell somewhere. But they conclude based on their set of values. That's why when we talk about strategic partners, it must be meaningful so that we don't repeat this condescending view of a clash of ignorance. That's why the partnership must be built on a clear conception, a compelling raison d'être that speaks for aspirations of both. If you talk about ASEAN, then must be aspirations of Malaysia and Indonesia and Thailand and Singapore and Vietnam and the Philippines. Okay, it cannot be one bigger power to dictate and compel. If you talk about APEC or you talk of Malaysia, Korea, or China, Japan, whatever, must be that sort of views. So I believe that we have enough voice, well, because there's voice of conscience, to understand that when we talk about partnership, we're not talking about an elite formulation. See, the problem of having an elite formulation means you talk about what the business interests and profitability of this, which is a consideration. I don't think we can deny. Some businessmen doesn't seem to happy with this remark, but there's the truth. The elite consideration is not purely of benefit to the small coterie of people. So when you talk about partnership, it's a partnership to improve, to excel, to succeed. So we have to deal with the issues of poverty, abject poverty, marginalization, be it in the urban, urban poor, or the rural folks, or the rural heartland, or the minorities, or the majority population, but you have the underclass. So it must be truly representative. Then it gives meaning to what is justice. Even when we deal with AI, what is our basic concern? Is digital divide. We have enough problems about inequality, about gross gap between the very rich and the very poor. So strategic partnership must deal with these issues. That they are compelling issues that we deal with. And when you talk about digitalization or energy, in ASEAN we say about the new energy grid, ASEAN energy grid, you must always take into consideration whether these powerful measures, major infrastructure, would ultimately benefit the vast majority of our people. How do you take pride in such advancement, some countries having great achievements and advancement, but benefit the 1% as opposed to the 90%. Or you have, or to be considered one of the richest countries of the world, but you have people lingering around without proper education or housing. So let us therefore have this strategic partnership that deal with the dictates, the new challenges, which I'm proud to say that the university is dealing with. You call about transdisciplinary, you talk about future studies or future strategies, but at the same time be mindful that any new innovation or strategies or policies must not negate the demands on the issue of justice, humanity, and compassion. That's why I have no difficulty whatsoever. Some people have great difficulty. What about ASEAN position on Myanmar? Persistent. They must respect human beings. Doesn't matter from which community, which religion or ethnic group. So a very consistent, coherent message. When they say they compare about Gaza, Ukraine, it's interesting. In Ukraine, we are supposed to condemn Russians for the aggression and invasion of Ukraine. But when you talk about Gaza, it's 7th October. So the 5-6 decades of colonization, of dispossession, of killing babies and women is irrelevant. The first question you go ask any or most Western media personnel, they will say 7th October, Hamas provoke. And why? What is critical studies? What do we study in universities? You mean to say, yes, 7th October 2023. What happened about 7th October 2022, 2020, 1990, 1940, 47? Long before Hamas and Hezbollah were formed, they were colonized. So that is why I think there's always a problem of imposition of knowledge without critical thinking. So when I hear that the President mentioned in the transnational studies, a transdisciplinary approach, critical thinking is important. Because otherwise, we talk about education and knowledge, but lacking wisdom. So let me, I think, end here. I didn't touch too much about the inclusivity and sustainability of ASEAN, because you are smart students, and these terms are being used all the time, so I wouldn't bore you with this typical Prime Minister's lecture. So well, I mean, I must make a reference because I'm in Korea. People ask me about the North Korean challenge, or to me, it's not difficult at all to suggest that any attempt, I mean, whatever power, ballistic missiles, nuclear they want to have for themselves, I mean, that's a different issue. But the moment it's deemed to be provocative or a challenge to any other state, and it's, for this matter are okay, then we condemn. That's why Malaysia takes a strong position. We condemn the provocation by North Korea, because it is inconsistent with the values, not only but we accept, but humanitarian values, peace, stability in the region, because it is disrupting the whole process. The whole region is in uncertainty. In Malaysia, I happen to be Minister of Finance, our highest budget allocation is for education. Number two, for public health. But if I happen to have neighbors, like I'm in the Middle East or here, my number one allocation has got to be defense. Because without peace and security, we can focus on education in other fields. So critical thinking is required. Let me end here and invite you to ask easy questions. The difficult questions will be answered by the President. Okay, I'll hold the floor here. You don't mind. I'll deal with this. Yes, please.
We have a lot of questions, but because of the Prime Minister's tight schedule,
Yeah, I give
we chose,
a bit injury time. I give it's all right.
Okay, thank you. Then first, the Professor Kim Hyung-jung from Yonsei University. He's a Malaysian specialist, so I'd like to ask him the first question.
He's a specialist. Why do you ask a specialist? I'm not a specialist. So
I'm actually very general, not so special. Yang baru hormat Prime Minister Anwar Ibrahim, so it's very honor to see you. So let me show you, if allowed, one picture. So I took in September 1998.
Oh dear.
Yeah. I think it's too far to see, but right. So. Yeah, so I was backpacker in the Merdeka. So accidentally, I followed the crowd in the protest. Those were chanting for free Anwar and Reformasi. Right, so it's very glad to see you, and I think that you are now free, and also you can make a lot more people freer from being threatened to many ways, I think, as you mentioned, that to protect the humanity values and so on. So let me ask one thing, very easy question. So I heard that you mentioned that the possible inclusion of the China in the Malaysia's Lugist policy. So it reminds me of that kind of that heydays of the East Asian community and cooperation, in which Malaysia and Korea have played very important role. So in your opinion, how Malaysia and Korea can cooperate in line with the East Asia community vision? Thank you so much.
Thank you, Professor Kim. Good. I'm really touched and honored that you were there to support. I could not join him because I was already inside. But I think God in His wisdom has given us this chance. That is why the tribulations and trials that one face is there to give you the experience and learn. And if you learn nothing, that means the tortures inflicted upon you has not benefited humanity. So you have to endure, yes. Was it difficult? Yes. More so for my wife Aziza and the family, but I think we have to move on to understand the value of freedom, value of justice, and humanity. There's no reason why in these days and age should treat human beings that manner. So that has taught me a great lesson. I mean, of course, a difficult experience, but I think gives me a stronger drive to prove that we can manage our affairs in a
Alright, itu dia sahabat sebentar tadi ya, seorang profesor yang pernah bersama-sama dengan Gerakan Reformasi, bermulanya Gerakan Reformasi. Bagaimana ya beliau begitu teruja ya berjumpa dengan Perdana Menteri ya, terutamanya apabila Perdana Menteri kita berada ya di Korea pada ketika ini. Memang terbaik. Jadi sahabat semua, terima kasih. So, apapun sekiranya Anda memberikan sebarang komen, pandangan, ya Anda diberikan di dalam ruangan komen. Tapi ingat, komen dengan cara berhemat. Jadi terima kasih. Izinkan saya untuk mengundurkan diri dan seperti biasa peribahasa mengatakan, betapapun kangkap, 2 tahun keinginan. Dalam bahasa Melayunya, tepuk dada, tanya selera. Sekian daripada ORAITNOPO Channel, kita berjumpa lagi. Bye-bye.